It's the John Phillips Show. It's Randy Wang here. Johnny's back on Monday. The phone number to join us, 800-222-KEBC, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. All right, doing the formatics for two different shows every day is screwing me up. You can email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Yale writes in, hey, Randy, your outstanding work may have done in Katie Porter. Now Alex Padilla may be pressured to enter the race, and she might not even make the top two. Very, very possible. If you missed our 12 o'clock hour yesterday, where we were able to uncover that Katie Porter tape before anybody else, and again, I don't get all the credit here. Julie Watts gets the credit for doing that interview on CBS Sacramento. They posted the video, which I'm so glad that they did. And I listened to it. I spit my toothpaste out of my mouth when I started hearing her get all crazy and refusing to do the interview.
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
So we did that at 12 o'clock on Tuesday. And I don't think anyone else had been talking about that tape. We told this audience where the YouTube video was, what the time code was for the portion of that Katie Porter interview with Julie Watts. And a few hours later, it was all over the place.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
Again, I should not get all the credit for this. The audience gets some of the credit because they're the ones that spread the word. I did what I do every single day on this show, which is find the stories that I find interesting, that I think you may find interesting, that you can hopefully share with your family and friends, and we all stay as educated as possible on the local issues facing Southern California, the Bay Area, and the rest of the Golden State. So thank you for sharing that story. It was very gratifying to see how many people talking about it. It was also funny getting so many emails of people saying, boy, I hope you talk about this. We talked about it first. And let's just say that happens occasionally. That happens more often than not. We're the first ones on a whole lot of things. And it's just because I'm a giant geek and I'm subscribed to every single local news channel in the state of California.
I'm running for governor because I'm a leader.
So if you want to listen to that hour that is spreading like, well, you know what it's spreading like, you can go to the John Phillips Show, wherever you get your podcasts, and search for the episode, Katie Porter threatens to walk out of a local TV interview. You can get it on Apple Podcasts. You could also do what George Gascon does.
Do a Google on YouTube.
It's getting a lot of clicks there as well. Before we go to our next story, let's go to Johnny in Concord. Johnny, hello.
Hello there, Johnny Bunch here. How are you?
Doing great.
Great. I just had a quick question for you, if you might know the answer. And earlier this year, Newsom passed another tax on ammunition and guns being sold in California, 11%. I'd like to know, if you know, where is that money actually going?
That is a very good question. And I bet you if you ask the state of California that question, they have no idea. Maybe it's going to the general fund. Maybe it's going to prop up some nonprofits, but they don't know where a lot of this money actually goes.
That's just wonderful to hear. Okay.
It is. And I think that's yet another one of those bills that's actually being challenged in court. So that one might get reversed. We'll see. Thanks so much for the call, Johnny. Appreciate it. And I want to thank all of our listeners over the last few weeks that corrected me when we did a story up in Concord, and I said Concord. I have learned. In fact, a friend of mine that I worked with like 20 years ago at a different radio station, Mike Dawson, reached out to me. It's like, dude, you know it's Concord, right? Not Concord. I know now, and I will never make that mistake again. That is my promise to you. I got it right eventually with Benicia, and I've got it right now with Concord. We're doing great. I'm putting Concord on the board. We got a call from there. I love to see all these Northern California areas getting on our map of places that are calling this radio show. Prop 50 is on the ballot. Prop 50 is something you could vote on today because the ballot is in your mailbox. But as one person in Los Angeles County found out, it wasn't only his ballot that was in his mailbox. There was also the ballot of a woman who's been dead for 30 years. For more, here's ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Los Angeles.
There is an election in less than a month. The ballot isn't large, but the stakes certainly are. Just one item to vote for, Prop 50, which would redraw the congressional lines in the state, gerrymandering them in favor of Democrats.
But we spoke to a...
Look at that. They're actually calling it gerrymandering. I love it.
But we spoke to a voter who received an additional ballot at his home for a woman who has been dead for decades.
How does this happen? You know, when you hear complaints that we need to clean up our voter rolls, how many elections? You know, you think about it, we have one every 2 years, and sometimes we have special elections. So you get to imagine that they have sent out a ballot for somebody at least 15, maybe 16, 17 times in the last 3 decades, and she hasn't been alive the entire time. That is the kind of thing that will make people question the integrity of our election system. It doesn't matter if there is rampant fraud or not. The fact that we can't keep track of that is an embarrassment.
So how ready are LA County election workers for this upcoming election? Eyewitness News political reporter Josh Haskell is live in downtown LA, where the LA County registrar presented his readiness report. Josh.
Didn't sound like he was ready for that one.
Jory and Giovanna, a viewer reached out to us because they received a ballot for someone who they do not know. Research.
And we've heard reports of this, and usually it's probably someone who lived there before you, but this is the first time I've heard of a ballot going out for someone who's been dead for 3 decades.
Research revealed that that person is no longer alive. 5.8 million ballots have been mailed out to every registered voter in LA County ahead of the November 4th special election on redistricting.
And considering how much it costs to send out those ballots, where it's like $250 million for this special election, shouldn't we at least make sure that we're not wasting the paper and the postage?
Los Angeles resident Jeff Berry received 3 ballots, one for him, one for his wife, and a third ballot for someone he doesn't know. Winona M. McGuire.
It was not the family from whom we bought the house last spring, and I wasn't familiar with it. So I Googled it, and I was a bit surprised by what I found.
Barry discovered that the person's name who was on the third ballot passed away back in 1994.
Do you understand how long ago that was? I was 9. They've been sending out ballots to this dead woman since I was in the 3rd grade.
Not knowing what to do with the ballot, Barry reached out to Eyewitness News, who also verified that Winona M. McGuire has been dead for 31 years.
I was just sort of bewildered as to, how I received her ballot. Not like she died a year or 2 ago in another county. She died in Los Angeles County.
Doesn't the county ever notice that they keep sending out ballots, and I would assume nobody actually filled that one out?
Over 30 years ago, and she's still on the voter rolls.
At this point, there's no evidence Winona M. McGuire has voted in LA County since her death, and according to election officials, voter fraud remains very rare, not occurring at a...
That's fine, but this is still unacceptable incompetence.
Not occurring at a level that would change an election result.
When you vote.
Except for that woman in Orange County that registered her dog to vote to prove a point.
When you vote and return that ballot, you have to sign a legal oath. We check the signatures on those ballots before the ballots are cleared for counting. So there are...
I always wonder about that one, because the signature that they have on file for me has to be the signature that I had when I registered to vote at the age of 18. My signature is very different now because I just gave up. I used to kind of try with the cursive, But since about 10 years ago, I said, screw it. And I just do an R, a W, and circle it.
So there are protections. Forging a ballot is a felony offense, and we take that very seriously, and we would refer that to the district attorney.
LA County Election Chief Dean Logan says if you receive a ballot at your address that's addressed to someone else, you should write on the envelope, "no longer resides here" or "voter not here," and have it returned to sender.
And nobody did that over the last 30 years? Or have people done that, but it doesn't matter because we do not have agencies talking to each other? You would figure that we'd all be on the same computer system and you'd know who's alive and who's dead in your county.
The county will then update their records.
If her ballots have been sent to the same address over and over again, is that a concern?
Well, we can certainly verify whether or not there's been any voting history in that time period. We do get notifications from the State Department of Public Health and from the Social Security Administration about deaths, but sometimes that information is difficult to match to.
Maybe we're going to have an employee that calls every number in the phone book. Hi, are you still alive? Great.
But sometimes that information is difficult to match to a record, and we want to be very careful when you're talking about canceling somebody's voter registration.
Now, besides returning the ballot back to the county, if you have specific information about a voter, the registrar wants to hear from you, especially if that voter has passed away. If you want to vote by mail and you're not yet registered, you have until October 20th.
And, of course, one of the other problems, and it's a very California kind of problem with the mail-in voting that we have, is what about the increasing problem of mail theft? And what do you know? A whole bunch of ballots just got stolen in La Habra. Here's KTLA.
Now at 5:30, early voting ballots snatched from a mailbox outside a home in La Habra Heights. The thief caught on surveillance video. Good evening. This is the KTLA 5 News at 5:30. I'm Cher Calvin.
Then I'm Mike.
It would be really weird if, I would assume they just stole a bunch of mail and ballots were included in it, but it would be really strange if there are people out there stealing mail so they can vote yes on Prop 50.
Then I'm Micah Ullman. Residents expressing concern tonight as mail theft continues to be a problem throughout the region.
KTLA's Chris Wolf is live in La Habra with the latest. Chris.
Yeah, good evening. Cher and Micah, mail theft is becoming a major concern, a plague across Southern California. And some of the victims I spoke with today are frustrated, believing that their cries for help are simply not being heard. Caron Caldwell of La Habra Heights in southeastern Los Angeles County treasures her animals and her right to vote.
I was wondering what this was. Apparently that's some kind of animal.
As a concerned citizen, she filled out her ballot for the upcoming special election regarding congressional redistricting in California. She says it was placed in her mailbox Monday night and it was picked up early Tuesday morning.
I would never do that. I do the vote by mail thing because I don't usually have the time with a noon to 3 show to make it to a ballot in a polling place. And I could sit there and I could talk with the wife about all the issues, although there's really only one issue on there. But I take it to one of those ballot drop-off boxes. They look very secure. Except didn't someone try to blow one up a couple years ago?
Not by a United States Postal Service mail carrier, but a crook. Surveillance cameras captured a white BMW pulling up to Caldwell's mailbox close to 7 a.m. A tattooed arm reached in and snatched the contents while a female passenger sat quietly. Then the driver pulled away.
That's a great relationship, isn't it?
Then the driver pulled away and disappeared down winding Canyon Court into the morning.
Very frustrating, yeah.
Caldwell plastered her story on social media and quickly called the LA County Sheriff's Department, which serves the area.
They said no, and they just said, you can contact the post office. There's a special investigation team there. So I tried them.
I like that she calls the sheriffs. Nah, we don't want to do anything about that. We're understaffed.
I gave them the basic information, but they didn't even want to see my video. It seems like it should be, a fairly easy case to investigate.
Whether the thieves were...
Especially with the tattoos.
Whether the thieves were hoping for monetary gain by stealing some kind of check, or trying to interfere with a special election is anyone's guess. More likely, they didn't even know what they were grabbing. But if
Nope, they just grab any mail that they see in any mailbox. Well, maybe you can take all the junk out of my mailbox.
But if these people were indeed stealing the mail, a crime was committed. And people like Carone Caldwell just want help from the proper authorities.
I think that they just don't care, or they don't have the resources or something. But, you come up with a law and then you don't enforce it.
That's California.
Other victims tell KTLA they believe a pair of criminals is operating throughout the San Fernando Valley, using master keys to gain access to apartment building mailboxes, opening all of them at once for quick, easy access to the contents. How is this happening? The victims wonder.
Well, it's Los Angeles. That's how it's happening. Let's go to Allison in Sherman Oaks. Allison, hello.
Hi, thank you. My sons have been living in New York for 15 years. They've registered to vote. They have driver's licenses there. They've contacted the LA registrar. For the last 15 years, I still get their ballots. And if I wasn't such an honest person, and if I had a son who was an attorney who I would never jeopardize by having him vote in 2 states, I could easily forge the signatures and put those ballots in. We have a house that's abandoned in my neighborhood, and the ballots that for the owner, he still owns it, but he doesn't live there. The mail is stolen from them every single day, and he's had people rent the house that are still getting ballots, and those ballots are disappearing. The system, the mail-in ballot system, has got to be eliminated. It's totally fraudulent.
Thanks so much for the call, Allison. Appreciate it. You're going to have a really hard time having people trust this system when you hear stories like that constantly. It's Randy Wang here. Hey, look at this. We have got some Katie Porter news. Gubernatorial candidate Betty Yee, who also came out pretty terribly in that interview with Julie Watts, is calling for Katie Porter to drop out of the race.
No!
Betty Yee put out on social media, Katie Porter is a weak, self-destructive candidate, unfit to lead California. The stakes are simply too high for her to stay in this race. What stakes? It's time for her to drop out of this race. Problem is, nobody knows who Betty Yee is yesterday, and they still don't know who she is today, and she has no chance. So good luck with that.
Please.
Let's go to Russ in Arcadia. Russ, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great.
Rolling around town over the weekend, and I was just sort of miffed by some wool getting pulled over, the loss of gas producing capacity in our state and the crazy prices. Newsom was running a PR campaign. I think we all heard about the 85% gas ethanol blend and how it's going to save us 20 cents per gallon, the key number. A basic Google and any history we've seen on ethanol shows you that you lose 20 to 25%, which would be 50 to 60 cents a gallon efficiency, and it destroys your fuel system for future efficiency. So, a little bit off topic, but something I just couldn't let go. The snake oil continues to get sold, and I wonder how these new candidates feel about these fake deals that are getting made.
They should definitely be asked about that specific question. We actually took a whole bunch of calls on Monday about this because a lot of people aren't even aware that E15 is not compatible with the vast majority of engines that are out there. So people might mistakenly put this in their car because it's cheaper, not realize that not only is it inefficient, but like you said, the alcohol in there could destroy that engine. Thanks so much for the call, Russ. Appreciate it. Let's go to Loretta in Lomita. Loretta, hello.
Hi, how are you? Okay, yesterday, because last 2 years I've been questioning why they're putting official ballot boxes in parks and recreation, LA City Parks and Recreation. Also, so yesterday I drove around, and in 2 city halls they have them, and also a golf course. Behind, just hidden, sort of. But then also off the street, Redondo, I saw one It's quite interesting. So I basically took a picture of all of them, just questioning it. What do you think? Do you think that we should be putting our ballots in those boxes after all? Shouldn't they be at the precincts?
Well, I'll tell you what you can do. If you happen to put one of your ballots in those boxes, you sign up for ballot tracks. You can get text notifications. You can actually look up where your ballot is. And if you put it in the box and you don't get any notifications, then you got a problem. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Cindy writes in and says, you started a movement, the Katie Porter tape. I heard everyone talking about it last night and this morning on Armstrong and Getty and Glenn Beck and Fox News and local San Francisco channels. Direct evidence that this show is essential and vital and working. Cindy, thank you so much. But again, this audience gets the credit for spreading the word on this thing. Really appreciate that because that video is going everywhere. Now other candidates are calling for Katie Porter to drop out. That race just got a whole lot more exciting in the last 48 hours. And what's funny, too, is that interview's from like a month ago. But what Julie Watts was doing was asking all the candidates all these questions and then would release every single candidate's answer to one question over the course of a few months. And I have a feeling like they knew what they were doing when they just put that in the middle of that 30-minute video. You'll love to see it. One of the things that has been a big problem in San Francisco as well as downtown LA for the past 7 or 8 years is the rise in illegal street vending. Something that actually got worse by then State Senator Ricardo Lara.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
In an effort to protect all the people that were street vending but in the country illegally, Ricardo Lara authored a bill that was going to decriminalize street vending. And what that meant was anything that has to do with street vending, whether it's, code violations, permits, or something as egregious as selling stolen goods, was no longer a law enforcement issue if counties opted in. And LA County opted in and San Francisco County opted in. In LA County, the street vendors are now being handled by the Public Health Department. Barbara Ferrer is their regulator.
Yeah.
And in San Francisco, it's the Board of Public Works that has to deal with the street vending. Well, when there was a massive spike in the sale of stolen goods in the Mission, and Public Works' only avenue was to hand out citations, what literally started happening was Public Works employees started getting assaulted by the criminals because they knew there were no consequences for selling stolen goods. Well, one of the bills that Gavin Newsom just signed says that it's going to change that, and it's a Scott Wiener bill. Let's see if San Francisco is actually going to start cracking down on the sale on stolen goods. Here is a report from KPIX in the Bay.
San Francisco is set to take advantage of a new state law that will allow police to crack down on illegal street vending. This has been a particular problem in the Mission.
Remember, it was so bad at one point, Hillary Rodham just said, we're not going to have any street vending whatsoever because we can't do anything about the criminals, who, by the way, also are ganging up on and victimizing the ones that we're supposed to want to protect.
This has been a particular problem in the Mission District. Obviously, stolen products being sold, competing with legally operating street vendors. It has even, in some cases, led to violence. Today, the bill's author, State Senator Scott Wiener, joined San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie to talk about the new law that was just signed by Governor Newsom.
Organized crime started pushing our legitimate street vendors out.
To bring our...
And because of the way the former laws that were written, we couldn't even do anything about that. You can just say you're a street vendor and law enforcement was not allowed to be involved.
To bring our city back, people must be safe and they must feel safe.
Our Kelsey Thorud talked to a small business advocate about how this will make a difference for people trying to sell things legally.
William Ortiz Cartagena has been working for years to help the smallest of small business owners in the Mission, street vendors.
We can help anywhere from permit to reviewing leases to helping with sales tax.
Street vendors have long been a staple in this neighborhood, lining Mission Street from 24th to 14th. But in recent years, Williams says the number of illegal vendors selling stolen goods has skyrocketed.
As much as you want to be told that most fencing for stolen goods is happening online, and a lot of it is, whether it's on Amazon or eBay or Facebook Marketplace, does any legitimate commerce actually happen on that, or is it all scams? But you also have boosters, which is the term for the homeless that are paid to steal things from Walgreens, which is one of the reasons you've seen so many Walgreens close in San Francisco, and literally lock things up like pizza and ice cream with chains. And then they sell them to the fencers, who then have total immunity to sell the stolen goods in the Mission. Now, who's buying stolen shampoo from a street vendor in the Mission? I don't know, but obviously somebody is.
There'd be wares of, stuff stolen from Walgreens, CVS, Target. You'd have people set up with Home Depot, boxes of Home Depot, brand new DeWalt's, Makitas.
I wonder how many contractors found a way to save a little on their fees by buying all of their nails from some jackass thief in the Mission.
I can't even explain it because it's unreal. AI couldn't even come up with something to describe it.
I don't know. I have a feeling that if you put into one of those AI prompts, name a city where it is against the law to enforce the law against illegal street vendors, it would pop out San Francisco.
At one point,
again, this is a state law, so LA did this too, and that's why MacArthur Park is the ground zero for this nonsense down here.
At one point, the problem got so bad that not only were real legitimate vendors and shop owners losing money, they were also being threatened with violence.
It was very scary where our street vendors weren't feeling safe to vend in the street.
The only action the city could take against these illegal vendors was handing out citations from the Department of Public Works. Since a 2018...
That'll do it. How many stories do we do where the only mechanism for law enforcement, and in this case, it's Public Works because law enforcement isn't allowed to be involved, but when you're talking about illegal activity is, we'll cite that. Yeah, that's going to do it. Hey, what happens if you don't pay the citation? Well, we'll give you another citation. What if you have failed to appear in court? Well, we'll give you another citation.
Since a 2018 state law decriminalized street vending.
And who wrote that law? Ricardo freaking Lara.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
Ricardo South African Safari Lara.
Since a 2018 state law decriminalized street vending. But that didn't account for the rampant rise in illegal vending after the pandemic. In 2023, the city implemented a temporary ban on street vending on a stretch of Mission Street, but that received pushback from legal vendors. Now, a bill pushed through the state legislature by Senator Scott Wiener and just signed into law by Governor Newsom allows police to get involved.
And by the way, this is the second go-around. Scott Wiener tried to get this bill passed last year, and it failed. But let's find out what this bill does and if it's really going to crack down on the illegal street vending going on in the Mission in San Francisco and MacArthur Park in Los Angeles.
We'll give the city of San Francisco, the mayor, the board of supervisors, San Francisco Police Department an additional tool to hold accountable and to address this issue and to put a stop to the sale of stolen goods.
Under the new law, the city can require vendors to get a permit to sell certain categories of goods that are frequently stolen.
So the Board of Supervisors has to come up with a list of the top most stolen items, whether it's deodorant, whether it's condoms, who knows what. And again, who's buying this stuff? How do we not have cameras on here? When you imagine street vending in the Mission, you imagine like maybe little wooden figurines or crosses or food, but typical things that you see at a CVS, okay, you've got to have a permit to show that you have a receipt for that. All right, now what?
Under the new law, the city can require vendors to get a permit to sell certain categories of goods that are frequently stolen, to be determined by the Board of Supervisors. The first time a person is caught selling illegal goods, Public Works would issue a written warning.
I mean, could you really expect much from this? Scott Wiener was addressing the problem, but the Scott Wiener solution is to do a Janice Hahn.
That's your final warning.
But after that, law enforcement could get involved. The second violation would mean a fine. The third time, the punishment could be elevated to a misdemeanor, which could mean up to 6 months in jail.
Misdemeanors never mean 6 months in jail. You know what a misdemeanor means? It means another fine.
That's your final warning.
I don't think this bill's going to do much.
This law protects legitimate vendors.
Yeah. Lurie, you probably shouldn't have been at this signing ceremony talking about how great this bill is going to be, because the impact is going to be tiny. Yes, it's great that law enforcement can finally be involved, but the most we can do is give them a warning, then give them a ticket, and then after the third time, then we can arrest them, but it's a misdemeanor.
It supports those who work hard and play by the rules.
William agrees. He knows it will take the city a little time to fully step up enforcing this new law, but he told me he truly believes it will help to stop illegal vending in the neighborhood he loves so much.
Look, our street vendors, they're not selling shampoo stolen from Walgreens. I mean, once you start being aware that you cannot sell the toothpaste, the Tide Pods, your business model for fencing is going to deplete.
The city says,
well, if we can strictly go after them.
The city says it is working now to set up a database to track illegal vending in the city. It hopes to have the program approved and up and running in full force by the beginning of next year.
So there's the latest. Scott Wiener finally got his bill passed. He is addressing a major problem, the legal sale of stolen goods in San Francisco and Los Angeles. But I don't know if this bill goes nearly far enough as a deterrent for this behavior. But at least law enforcement now can be involved, kind of, where the previous law, again, written by this jackass,
I'm very kind of sketchy,
made it so law enforcement could not be involved with anything having to do with street vending. It doesn't matter what they're doing, including committing criminal acts, because we wanted to protect all the people in the country illegally that might be those vendors. It's California for you. It's Randy Wang here. I always have two TVs on. I got one on KTLA for local news. I got one on CNN in case something breaks internationally. CNN's talking about Katie Porter now.
Oh, it's shocking. She was asked to follow up.
Can I just point one other thing out about Katie Porter? Because I do know a little something about California politics, having grown up there. She's actually very unpopular right now for having given up her House seat to...
Yes, she is. Wow, look at that. This Katie Porter story is even getting talked about on CNN. Oh, my goodness.
No!
How irritated do you think John Phillips is? Well, he is on his well-deserved vacation. That the Katie Porter story of the year happened and he wasn't here to make fun of it.
Hello, everybody!
Poor Johnny. Hey, I got something great for you. How about this? 790 KABC welcomes John Waite at the Canyon at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center, October 18th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by the Canyon, where music meets the soul. Good luck dialing. Get your tickets now. John Waite at the Canyon at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydontlikeshow@gmail.com. Will writes in and says, Randy, did I hear you right? Barbara Ferrer is in charge of the street vendors. Does that include the taco stands?
Next slide.
Yes. Yes, it does. Although I think you will notice there's no health department sticker on a lot of those, including and again, if you buy this, it on you, enjoy it. Maybe you like it. Maybe it's great. But if you're ever in front of the post office on Sherman Way and Haskell next to the 405 freeway on a Saturday afternoon, there's a guy in the middle of the summer selling Menudo. No mas for me. Hey, if 3 hours of this show isn't enough, You can get our podcast, including that 12 o'clock hour yesterday where we broke that Katie Porter story. I was the first one to find that interview that Julie Watts hid in the middle of a 30-minute segment. And you can listen to it by going to the John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for the John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube. It's getting a lot of views up there. You can get the KABC app. You can get the KSFO app. You can get the KMJ Now app because we do this show on Saturdays at 2 in the Central Valley. So many different ways to listen to the John Phillips Show. And if 3 hours isn't enough, and the podcast isn't enough, I do a solo 1-hour show on our local station here in Los Angeles, KABC, from 5 to 6 every day. You can hear it by going to kabc.com/newsblitz or search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. That show airs from 5 to 6 every single day. And today we'll probably be talking about the arrest that was made in the Palisades fires. Let's go to the phones and start with Chris in Westlake Village. Chris, hello.
Hey, Randy, how you doing? I'm a retired letter carrier, and I just got a couple things to say about the mail-in ballots. You know, it's up to a carrier with his own mail route. In a perfect world, he knows everyone, and he endorses the mail for people who have moved away and sends it back to the register recorder, and they delete the names. But think about it, you know, like a row of apartments. The carrier doesn't know anybody. He delivers everything, you know, and the ballots can go wherever. But you know, a person may get a ballot for someone that's moved, and they may put it on top of the mailbox. Well, that's not a good idea. You know, it's a good idea for the public to help, as well as the good letter carriers, and get this mail endorsed. Send it back to the register recorder. Get it off the rolls. You know, so that's how everybody can help. And as far as the master keys and the theft goes, well, a master key is for one zip code, and every letter carrier has to sign for that key in the morning. Now, if the letter carrier gets robbed or he loses it, if he loses it, he's in big trouble. If that key gets out, you know, to a criminal, then he has access to all of the boxes in that zip code to steal the mail. And it's very difficult for the Postal Service to go out and change every lock, you know, in a town to secure those boxes again, as well as the boxes get broken into. So, you know, the best thing to do is it's good that they put these people on TV and try to catch these criminals, because that's all we really got right now. It's a tough thing. The Postal Service is a great service. They deliver to every house in America every day, and they're doing the best they can, but it's tough times right now. And one more thing, if you can, get direct deposit for your paycheck.
I totally agree with that, and I thank all the letter carriers for what they do every single day. And you're right, we all got to be on top of this. And if we keep sending in these requests to the registrar that, hey, this person hasn't been here for years and years and they still don't do anything about it, then we have to hold our leaders accountable that appoint these dopes to these jobs. And I feel for any letter carriers that have been robbed, because that's what's been going on in Studio City. And Chris, thanks so much for calling and standing up for your fellow letter carriers. Appreciate it. Let's go to Tom in San Jose. Tom, hello.
Hey, hello. I'm glad I got on, because I want you guys, as well as the audience, to also turn in that, and I can't, Randy, I'm hoping you're going to know who it is, that guy that threatened that, he's running for office somewhere, and he threatened the man and the wife and the children as well. I mean, he's tried to do a weak apology, but it's not worth a darn. And, well, it was going to be a second and third thing, but we're running out of time. I noticed that all of these steps, somebody brought this up to me. I have a little bit of background in this area, so I do know people, and they said, you know, all these steps that are happening, it's kind of funny. They steal everything under the sun, but they're not stealing any sunscreen. Out of all the things that are in Walmart and Walgreens, they never steal the sunscreen. I don't know if you heard the same thing.
That is very, very interesting. Well, at least we can feel good that in 20 years, the skin cancer will get these crooks. Thanks so much for the call, Tom. Appreciate it. That's going to be it for me. If you want more of this, up to you. You seem to enjoy it. I do a local show on KABC from 5 to 6, the News Blitz with Randy Wang. But I'll be back tomorrow on KABC and KSFO, bringing you all the California issues that matter. It's the John Phillips Show.